My wife used to laugh at me in front of our maid because of my wheelchair, but she didn't know the truth I was hiding. My name is Michael. I'm in my mid-40s, and a few years ago, an accident left me in a wheelchair. At first, I thought my wife Amanda would stay by my side through anything. In the early days, she did. She was supportive, patient, and told me we'd get through it together. But time changed her. Somewhere along the way, her kindness turned into bitterness, and that bitterness turned into cruelty. Amanda didn't just grow distant. She began to make a show of how little she respected me. She would speak to me like I was a child, and worse, she would do it in front of other people. The person who saw the most of it was Sophia, our young maid. Sophia was quiet and hardworking, never disrespectful, and yet Amanda seemed to enjoy mocking me when Sophia was in the room. It was as if she wanted an audience to watch her tear me down. "Can't even reach the glass on the counter," Amanda would say with a laugh, rolling her eyes at Sophia, who stood there awkward. Or she'd toss her hair back and sigh. "Sometimes I feel like I have 2 kids to look after instead of 1 husband." Every word landed like a slap, but I stayed quiet. I let her believe I was too broken, too dependent, too powerless to fight back. The truth is, Amanda thought she had me figured out. She thought she could crush my dignity without consequence, that my chair meant my life, and my pride were both permanently beneath her heels. She didn't know what I was holding back, what I had been preparing in silence. Sophia never joined in the laughter. If anything, she looked at me with sympathy, and sometimes with a quiet anger directed at Amanda. She'd keep her head down, but I could see in her eyes that she understood how wrong it all was. In those moments, I was grateful to at least have one person in the house who didn't treat me as less than human. Amanda's cruelty wasn't just occasional, it became a routine. Every day there was some remark, some laugh at my expense, some moment designed to make me feel smaller. She believed my accident had left me with no way to stand up for myself, and she carried herself with the confidence of someone who thought she had already won. But she was wrong. Behind my silence, behind my calm expression, there was a secret I hadn't shared with her, a truth I kept close to my chest, waiting for the right moment to reveal it. Amanda thought she was untouchable, that I would endure her humiliations forever. She had no idea that everything she believed about me was about to fall apart. Stick with me while I share my story, and if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. When I first came home from the hospital after the accident, Amanda was by my side every step of the way. She made sure I had everything I needed. She adjusted the house so I could move around in my chair, and she even told me she admired how strong I was. Back then, I believed her. I thought we were a team, and I told myself that even if life looked different now, at least we had each other. But as the months turned into years, things began to shift. The way she looked at me changed. At first it was small, a sigh when I asked for help, a roll of her eyes when I moved too slowly. Then it became sharper. Her patience seemed to vanish, and in its place was irritation. Soon, irritation turned into open bitterness. She started to talk down to me in ways that stung more than any physical pain I'd ever felt. "You can't do anything on your own," she said one evening when I asked her to pass me something from the top shelf. It wasn't just her words, but the tone, the coldness behind them. She didn't say it like she was frustrated. She said it like she truly believed it. And it didn't stop there. Whenever people came over, she made a habit of putting me down. She'd pour drinks and laugh with her wealthy friends, making little comments about how she had to do everything in this house, because her husband couldn't. They laughed with her, not realizing, or not caring, how it cut me. The worst of it was how often she did it in front of Sophia. Our maid wasn't much older than 30, quiet, respectful, and careful with her words. But Amanda treated her like an extra pair of ears, an audience to my humiliation. She would point at me and say things like, "Can you believe I married a man who can't even open a jar without me?" She'd laugh, expecting Sophia to join in. Sophia never did, but that didn't stop Amanda. At parties, she went even further. I'd catch her leaning too close to some man, her hand brushing his arm as she smiled in a way she hadn't smiled at me in years. The way she carried herself in front of others was like she wanted to remind the world, and me, that she wasn't tied down by my chair. More than once, she made jokes about being a single wife, while I sat there, listening in silence. On the outside, I didn't react. I stayed quiet, forcing myself to keep calm, because I knew showing hurt would only feed her cruelty. But inside, every word burned. Every laugh at my expense left a scar. I could feel something building inside me, something dangerous. It was betrayal mixed with rage, and though I tried to bury it, I knew it was only a matter of time before it rose to the surface. After Amanda left a room in one of her angry moods, Sophia would sometimes linger behind. She never spoke much, but the way she looked at me said enough. There was no pity in her eyes, only a quiet respect, like she saw me as more than what Amanda made me out to be. Sometimes she'd set down a glass of water on the table beside me without being asked, or adjust the blanket over my legs when Amanda had tossed it aside. Little things, small gestures, but they mattered more than I could explain. One evening after Amanda had gone upstairs slamming doors, Sophia paused in the doorway. "Don't listen to her," she said softly. Her voice was steady, not the kind you use for comfort you don't believe in. It was honest. I only nodded, not sure if I could answer without letting too much emotion show, but inside I felt something shift. It wasn't just the kindness. It was the way she carried herself when Amanda was around. Whenever Amanda started her routine of mockery, I noticed Sophia's eyes flicker. She would lower her head quickly, but I had caught it more than once. A brief, sharp look, like she was seeing something more than what was on the surface. It was suspicion, clear and deliberate, though she never spoke of it. At first, I thought maybe she simply couldn't stand Amanda's behavior, the endless insults and laughter at my expense. But over time, I started to wonder if that wasn't all. The way Sophia watched her, the way she seemed to stiffen when Amanda went on about her late nights or her endless errands. It made me think there was something she wasn't saying. I never asked her directly, but I started paying more attention. The nights when Amanda said she was meeting friends, the times she came home later than she should have, the way she avoided my eyes afterward. I connected those things to the way Sophia's expression hardened whenever Amanda walked past her. It wasn't just disapproval. It was as if she knew something, or at least suspected something. What struck me most was that Sophia never tried to use any of this to her advantage. She didn't gossip or complain. She simply did her work and kept her observations to herself. But the silence spoke louder than words. And the more I watched her, the more I trusted that her instincts were sharper than Amanda realized. I began to feel that Amanda's cruelty wasn't just about me being in a wheelchair. It was too pointed, too constant, as if she needed to push me down so she could keep something else hidden. Sophia's quiet glances only fed that suspicion. I couldn't yet name what Amanda was hiding, but I was certain now. There was something darker behind the way she treated me, and sooner or later, it would come to light. Amanda's late nights started becoming more frequent. At first, she would say she was going out for dinner with friends or stopping by a coworker's place. I wanted to believe her, but the excuses grew thinner each time. She would come home later and later, sometimes after midnight, walking in like nothing was wrong. If I asked about it, she brushed me off with a quick answer, her tone sharp enough to end the conversation before it began. I tried to push the doubts aside. For a while, I told myself I was imagining things, that my mind was twisting her bitterness into something worse. But it became harder to ignore the signs. The way she dressed up, far more than necessary for a simple dinner. The way she guarded her phone, turning it face down whenever I was nearby. She thought I didn't notice, but I did. One night, after Amanda stormed out claiming she was meeting friends, Sophia lingered in the kitchen. She looked at me for a long time before she finally spoke. Her voice was low, careful, almost hesitant. "Mr. Michael, I saw her earlier. She wasn't alone." I felt my stomach tighten. "What do you mean?" I asked. Sophia hesitated, then said it clearly. "She got into a car. It wasn't a friend of hers. It was a man." The words hit me harder than I expected. Even though I had suspected it, hearing it confirmed left me stunned. Rage flared up inside me, hot and sharp, but underneath it was something heavier, humiliation. I thought of all the times Amanda had mocked me, all the times she had laughed at my expense, and now this. She had been walking out of the house, leaving me behind, only to step into another man's car. I didn't show Sophia how much her words shook me. I just nodded, thanked her quietly, and sat there in silence after she left the room. My hands gripped the armrests of my chair so hard my knuckles turned white. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake replaying everything, her excuses, her late arrivals, her sudden bursts of cheer when she thought I wasn't watching. The pieces began to fit together in a way that made too much sense. She wasn't just cruel, she was hiding something, protecting something, and that something was another man. I knew I couldn't confront her yet. Amanda was too clever, too quick to turn things around. If I accused her without proof, she would laugh it off, twist my words, maybe even make me look paranoid. No, I couldn't give her that chance. So I made a decision. From that night forward, I would pay closer attention. I would listen, watch, and collect whatever I could. If Amanda thought she was safe, she was wrong. She had built her betrayal on the belief that I was too weak to fight back. But she didn't know what I was capable of when I had nothing left to lose. It didn't take long before my suspicions turned into certainty. Amanda's lies grew sloppy, and I started catching details that didn't add up. She would say she was meeting friends, but I'd overhear her on the phone using a softer tone, a voice she hadn't used with me in years. She started coming home with perfume that wasn't hers, with smiles that vanished the second she stepped through the door. One afternoon, while I was supposed to be at physical therapy, I came home earlier than usual. I rolled into the house quietly, not wanting to announce myself right away. That's when I heard voices, hers mixed with a man's. I froze, listening. The man's voice was smooth, confident, the kind of voice that carried the weight of money and power. That was the first time I heard his name. She called him David. I didn't go into the room. I stayed hidden and listened as Amanda laughed in a way I hadn't heard in years. It wasn't forced, it wasn't bitter, it was genuine. She reserved that laugh for him, while I only got sighs and insults. The sound of it twisted in my chest. After that, I made sure to know more. I asked careful questions, overheard calls, and put together the pieces. David was a wealthy businessman, older than her but well-dressed and well-connected. He had money, status, and Amanda clung to him like he was her ticket out of the life she despised with. The worst moment came on another day when I returned quietly. They were in the living room, not even caring that this was my home. I heard Amanda's voice again, this time sharper, followed by laughter. "He's just dead weight," she told David. "I married a man I have to push around like luggage." David chuckled, not bothered at all by the cruelty. And Amanda laughed with him, as if mocking me made their connection stronger. I sat in the hallway, hearing every word, unable to move, unable to stop the rush of humiliation. And it wasn't just the affair. It was the way she stripped me of every last piece of dignity in front of another. I stayed silent. I let them believe I was oblivious, that I was still the helpless husband who couldn't see past his own chair. But inside, something hardened. That moment, hearing Amanda call me dead weight to the man she was betraying me with, burned away whatever love I once had for her. I knew I couldn't stay still anymore. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a declaration of war. Amanda thought she had the power, that I was too weak, too broken to do anything. She didn't realize she had just given me the reason to fight back. From that day on, I stopped thinking of myself as the victim in her story. I started planning to make her pay for every word, every laugh, every betrayal she thought I was too powerless to answer. Amanda had no idea that while she was busy sneaking around with David, I was making my own moves. For months I had been attending private therapy sessions, pushing myself harder than she thought possible. At home, I let her believe I was the same, struggling, weak, dependent. But behind closed doors, I was gaining back more strength than I showed. Standing for short moments, taking slow steps with support, regaining control little by little. It wasn't easy. Every session left me exhausted, but the thought of Amanda's laughter, her words to David, gave me fuel. She wanted me broken. She needed me broken. That alone made me determined to heal in secret. I wore my weakness like a mask, letting her believe the lie. While my body regained strength, I began preparing another kind of fight. I reached out to a lawyer, a man I trusted, and laid everything out. I explained Amanda's behavior, her affair, and the way she had been mocking me in my own home. He listened carefully, asked for details, and then assured me there were steps we could take. Steps to make sure Amanda wouldn't walk away from this with anything she didn't deserve. We went over property documents, the house, the finances. I learned which papers mattered and what evidence would hold weight if things turned into a legal battle. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of control returning. Amanda thought she had me pinned, but she had no idea I was already setting the ground for her downfall. Sophia became my silent partner in all of this. She had seen enough of Amanda's cruelty to stand by me without question. One evening, after Amanda left again with another excuse, I spoke to Sophia plainly. I told her I knew about David, that I had heard the things Amanda said. I also told her I wasn't ready to confront Amanda yet, not until everything was in place. Sophia's eyes didn't show surprise. Instead, she nodded, as if she had been waiting for me to confirm what she already knew. "I'll help you," she said simply. No hesitation. From then on, she became my eyes and ears when Amanda thought I wasn't watching. She told me when Amanda left, when she came home, and any detail she thought I needed to know. Amanda carried herself as though she was untouchable, but she couldn't see the net tightening around her. Every cruel word she spoke, every secret meeting with David, every late-night return, Sophia and I took note of it all. I kept up my act, playing the helpless husband she believed me to be. But inside, the truth grew stronger with each passing day. My body was returning, my mind was sharper than ever, and my plan was forming piece by piece. Amanda thought she was the one in control, but in reality, the stage for her humiliation was already being built by me. Amanda loved showing off, and nothing pleased her more than hosting a dinner party. This time she went bigger than usual, decorating the house, setting the table with the best dishes, and inviting a group of her wealthy friends. To my shock, David was among them. She didn't even try to hide it anymore. He walked into my home with confidence, shaking hands, laughing, and acting as if he belonged there. I stayed in my chair at the end of the table, silent, watching everything unfold. Amanda floated around the room, her smile bright and her laugh sharp. Every so often, she would lean down to whisper something to David, and the two of them would chuckle as if sharing a private joke. I knew the joke was me. As dinner went on, Amanda started turning her comments into open insults. "Michael, don't strain yourself trying to cut that meat," she said loudly, making sure the guests could hear. "He's not exactly built for this kind of thing anymore." Laughter spread around the table, and I felt my jaw tighten, but I forced myself to stay calm. Another guest asked Amanda how she managed the house with everything going on. She smirked and said, "It's like having 3 children, only one of them is over 40. Her friends laughed again, David included. Amanda leaned back, sipping her wine with pride, like she had just delivered the best joke of the night. I lowered my eyes, pretending to be small and beaten, just as she expected. But what she didn't know was that Sophia was standing nearby, phone tucked discreetly in her hand. Every word Amanda spoke, every cruel laugh, every insult, Sophia captured it all. At one point, Amanda tapped David's arm and said, "Sometimes I wonder what life would be like if I had married a real man instead of a burden." The room roared with laughter, except for Sophia, who kept her head down, recording every second. Inside, I burned, but outside, I stayed quiet. The evening dragged on, Amanda glowing in the spotlight of her cruelty, while I played my part perfectly, the broken husband who didn't fight back. When the guests finally left, Amanda barely acknowledged me. She was too busy fussing over David at the door, whispering something in his ear that made him grin. Later that night, when the house was quiet, I sat in the darkness of my room replaying the images in my mind. The sound of Amanda's laughter still rang in my ears, each note a reminder of how far she had gone. But this time, I didn't feel only pain. I felt resolve. She believed she had crushed me, that I was powerless and humiliated beyond repair. She thought the game was hers to win. But as I stared into the silence of that room, one thought burned steady inside me. "She thinks I'm powerless," I whispered to myself. "She'll learn how wrong she is." I waited until everything was in place before making my move. One morning, I told Amanda that my lawyer needed us both to attend a meeting. I explained it as something routine, legal paperwork connected to my medical care, a few documents that needed her signature as my spouse. She barely listened, too sure of herself, too wrapped up in her own arrogance. When I mentioned there might be financial details involved, she agreed right away. David came with her. That didn't surprise me. Amanda had grown so smug that she didn't even bother to hide the affair anymore. If anything, she wanted me to see them together, wanted me to know she had replaced me. They walked into the office side by side, Amanda wearing a smile that was more of a smirk. David looked amused, like he was walking into a show he already knew the ending of. I sat in my wheelchair, calm, letting them believe I was the same man they had been mocking for months. Amanda crossed her legs, leaned back, and said, "Let's get this over with. We have plans later." Her tone was dripping with superiority. My lawyer began by sliding a folder across the table, speaking in his steady, professional voice. Amanda barely glanced at the papers. She looked at David and whispered something that made him chuckle. It was all a game to them. Then I placed my hands firmly on the arms of the chair. Amanda didn't notice at first, too busy playing with her wine-red nails. Slowly, I pushed myself upward. My legs trembled, my arms shook, but I rose. Inch by inch, I stood until I was upright, steady on my own feet. The room went silent. Amanda's smirk froze. Her eyes widened, disbelief spreading across her face. David blinked, stunned, as if the scene in front of him didn't make sense. For the first time in months, I wasn't looking up at them. I was standing, staring them straight in the eye. "You thought I was helpless," I said evenly. "But I've been walking for weeks." Amanda stammered, her voice thin. You lied." "No," I cut in. "You lied. To me. To our vows. To this marriage." I signaled to my lawyer, who pressed a button on a small speaker. Suddenly Amanda's laughter filled the room, sharp, cruel, unmistakable. Her voice played over and over, mocking me, calling me useless, dead weight, a burden. Every word Sophia had recorded was now evidence, echoing in that office with no way for Amanda to deny it. David shifted in his seat, looking uncomfortable. Amanda's face drained of color. The confidence she wore like armor cracked in seconds. I laid the final piece on the table, documents, photographs, and recordings that proved her affair. Proof that she had not only betrayed me, but done it openly, shamelessly. Amanda tried to speak, but nothing came out. She sat there, silent, her smugness shattered. For the first time, she wasn't the one in control. I was. The days after that meeting moved quickly. My lawyer wasted no time filing the necessary papers, and I made sure the truth didn't stay hidden between 4 walls. Amanda's family and our closest friends were all told the full story. They didn't just hear my words. They heard Amanda's own voice on the recordings. Her laughter, her insults, the way she called me dead weight. Every cruel remark played out in front of them, undeniable and raw. The reaction was instant. Faces turned cold, eyes full of disgust. People who once welcomed Amanda into their homes now looked at her with shame. Her parents sat in silence, unable to defend her. Friends she thought would take her side avoided her gaze. No one had sympathy left after hearing what she had done. I didn't raise my voice or gloat. I simply let the evidence speak for itself. For years, she had humiliated me, stripping away my dignity. Now, her own words destroyed her. Meanwhile, the legal side fell into place. The house, the accounts, the assets. Everything had been prepared under my lawyer's guidance. Amanda had assumed she would always be safe because I was too broken to protect myself. She was wrong. The paperwork left her with nothing. She lost the home she once ruled, the security she thought was hers to keep. David didn't wait around. As soon as the truth became public, his interest vanished. He hadn't fallen in love with Amanda. He had been chasing the thrill of someone else's wife and the lifestyle she claimed she had. When the mask slipped and the money was gone, so was he. No explanations, no goodbyes, just silence where his presence used to be. Amanda tried to reach out, but the doors kept closing. Friends she bragged to now turned their backs. Family gatherings no longer included her. The woman who once mocked me for being helpless was suddenly the one abandoned, left to face the weight of her choices alone. I watched it all unfold without stepping in. I didn't need to raise a hand or a voice. The damage came from her own actions, her own arrogance. She had spent years tearing me down in front of others, and now the world saw her for what she truly was. In the end, Amanda stood where she had once placed me, alone, humiliated, and stripped of everything she thought made her powerful. The difference was I hadn't deserved it. She did. And as she faced the silence of her new reality, I walked away knowing the balance had finally shifted. The shame she forced on me had returned to her, only multiplied. When it was all over, the house felt different. The air was lighter, as if years of tension had finally lifted. Amanda was gone, and with her went the constant insults, the sharp laughter, the weight of her betrayal. For the first time in a long while, I sat in silence and felt peace instead of humiliation. Through everything, one person had stood by me when no one else did, Sophia. She had been quiet, steady, and loyal from the start. Without her, I might never have had the proof I needed. She hadn't just done her job as a maid. She had shown me compassion when I needed it most. One evening, I told her plainly, "Thank you. You saw me when she wanted the world to see only weakness." She gave a small smile, nodded, and said, "You deserved better." Those words stayed with me. The pain of betrayal didn't disappear overnight. There were nights I lay awake thinking about all the years I spent with Amanda, believing we were building a life together. I thought of the accident, of how vulnerable I was, and how instead of protecting me, she used my weakness as a weapon. That kind of wound leaves scars. But in losing her, I gained something she never expected. I regained myself. Standing again, walking again, and most of all, taking back control of my life reminded me that dignity isn't something another person can permanently steal. Amanda tried to strip it from me, piece by piece, but in the end, she only revealed her own emptiness. I didn't chase revenge to hurt her. I wanted truth, and I wanted my freedom. What came of it was justice. She was left with nothing, no house, no money, no man who cared enough to stay. She had mocked me for being alone in my chair, but now she sat alone in a life of her own making. As for me, I moved forward, slowly, carefully, but with strength I thought I had lost. I had my dignity back, I had my independence growing each day, and I had the quiet comfort of knowing at least one person had believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. To anyone who has felt broken, to anyone who has been betrayed, I say this: people may try to break you, but when the truth comes out, justice always finds its way. Amanda's laughter had once filled this house with cruelty. Now it was gone. In its place was silence, and in that silence, I found something better than revenge. I found myself standing tall again, stronger than ever.